Welcome to another episode of Clever Dick's podcast. In this podcast, we talk to Francois Lambrechts. Francois is a swimmer from South Africa who started a bit later in life and has got a disability, basically an electrical failure in his system that he talks about. He's done quite a lot of swimming in the open water and has started swimming in some really cold water as well. And in fact, we're going to see him down at the Ice Champs in a little while. We talked all about that. We talked also about his involvement in the Coastguard, and he's really promoting a fundraiser for the Coastguard. So if you're listening to this podcast in July, you'll be able to join in as well. All the links are in the show notes. And from anybody who's not in New Zealand, when we talk about a gold card, that's something you get when you're 65 years old and gives you discounts when you retire. But let's go and have the chat with Francois.
Well, welcome to another Clever Dick's podcast. In this podcast, we're talking to Francois. Francois, how are you today, mate?
Hey, Jim and Duncan. No, I'm great. It's great to see you guys, and I feel very privileged to be on what is your elite podcast for swimmers, for elite swimmers.
That's so kind of you to say it. Okay, Francois. I think we usually start by giving you an opportunity to sort of give us a little bit about your swimming journey and things like that, and then we can start going into some more interesting topics once you've done that. So, how did you get into swimming? Have you been a swimmer all your life?
Jim, no, not really. I will tell you a bit more about me. As you said, we'll get into some other topics. One of it is that I've actually got a bit of an unseen disability. It's called CMT, Charcot Marie Tooth. It's a disease. We're going to talk about that later. But what it means is that as a child, I was not a sporty child, and like the two of you, we grew up in South Africa and everyone was forced to play rugby. I was also forced to play rugby, and obviously I got smashed, being a disabled person like myself. I'll keep it PC. So I never did sports. I was the music one. I used to play music, and a bit of a nerd probably. And then when I went to university, I've always just liked the idea of swimming. So I started swimming in the pool. I've never had any lessons, so I was just starting swimming lengths. I taught myself how to swim, and I've always been interested in snorkeling and scuba diving, and so I also started playing a bit of under hockey. But because of this disability I have, I was never really very good at it. Usually at the start of the season, because I was quite fit, I could keep up with the ladies, but as soon as they were fit, they would just smash me, So I did not come from a swimming background. And I only I started swimming at university, like a kilometer at a time. And it was periods of my life where I would swim. And then the thing about pool swimming is you swim for a period and then you stop. And then you start swimming and you stop. And
why do you think that is? Is it boring, or does work get in the way? What's the story? When you just stop?
I mean, when you do swim, it is nice. I mean, even in the pool, it is nice to swim, but it's very easy. It's very easy to stop because it is boring and it's not a social thing, And so I think that's the reason, It's okay. Just, But in any case, so what happened was, like you guys, I'm from South Africa. In 2015, we immigrated to Australia first. So I became an Aussie. So I've got an Aussie passport. I support the Wallabies and I support all the Aussie teams. I don't support South Africa anymore. I support Australia.
Nice. So you're into a bit of pain and humiliation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, I'm all about conflict.
What your disability is. Do you want to speak about that now, or? I'm all disability, dude. Hey?
Yeah, true. But I'm all about conflict, So if I can cause a bit of conflict, then let's have a bit of conflict. No, sorry, I was wrong. It was in 2007 we moved to Australia. We spent 8 years in Brisbane, and then in 2015 we moved to Queenstown.
Oh, gotcha.
And we spent 8 years in Queenstown, and I'm currently living in Dunedin. So we moved to Dunedin about a year and a half ago. So while we were in Queenstown, that's when I joined. I actually joined St John's first. I was on the ambulances first for about 2 years, and then I decided to join Coastguard. I met someone from Coastguard. He convinced me to join Coastguard, and so I joined Coastguard. And I always used to see these people swimming, in the lake. And the thing that looks so beautiful is when people swim like next to each other in wetsuits. There's just something romantic about that. It feels like a school of fish moving through the water together. And I just so wanted to do that. So let me get my dates right. In October 2019, I went for my first swim with the Southern Lakes Swimming Club. And since that day, I've not stopped. So it's been almost 5 years. Sorry, say again?
Where was that first swim?
That first swim was at the normal spot for the Southern Lakes Swimming Club, which is at the Coast Guard building or the Scouts Hut. They call it Sugar Lane. It's at the Frankton Marina. It's not the most prettiest place to swim, but that's the spot, if you know what I mean. And the Southern Lakes Swimming Club has got a swim lane there. They've got a bunch of boys out there. And so I went for a swim on that day. Duncan and his wife Sheena, they were there, and also Tristan. Tristan is a legend. He was a non-wetsuit swimmer, and it was October month, so the water was probably about 12 degrees. And I remember I just thought this Tristan is a god, someone to swim without a wetsuit. And he was only of say 2 or 3 people that swam without a wetsuit. It was him, and then was a lady called Liana Smith. It's also, and these are accomplished proper swimmers, not a palooka, or what's the right English word for that, yes, not a plonker like me, So there were some great swimmers there, and I remember Duncan borrowed me one of his wetsuits, and we went for a swim. On that day, I didn't have a period of swimming in the pool, so that was my first day there, and it freaked me out. I must say, as soon as I couldn't see the bottom, I had this claustrophobic reaction. It really freaked me out. But Tristan was so gracious; he swam with me all the way and calmed me down and kept it going.
What was the reaction? What happened? Like a bit of a panic attack, or?
Totally panic attack, like if I swim, it just felt like a panic attack, I couldn't see the bottom. It's claustrophobia. I think I've got a bit of claustrophobia, if I'm in small spaces, I feel everything is just moving in on me, so it's that feeling of things. And obviously I wasn't fit as well, so that didn't help, so I couldn't breathe. And
I'm assuming you had a wetsuit on?
Yeah, so I borrowed a wetsuit from Duncan, but I was probably a bit bigger than him, so it was small as well.
Well,
it was quite
on the chest and all those things happening. Not used to it, cold.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
restriction on the chest. It's pretty common actually. Hey.
Yeah. So I totally freaked out, but I knew this is something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be one of the cool Navy SEAL guys that comes and swim with their wetsuits and line up. I must say it's a beautiful thing, seeing people swimming next to each other. But I guess they told me, listen, if you want to buy a wetsuit, the best wetsuit, and that's not what you guys want to hear up north, but the best wetsuit to buy for one of the Southern Lakes freshwater is one of Eddie Spearing's Ruby Fresh wetsuits. Probably half of the guys there were wearing them, and so the same day I called Eddie. Since then, I've become really good friends with Eddie. I love the guy. Hey, he's just he's a salt of the earth, type of guy. But in case I drove up to Wanaka, went there in his home and tried on a wetsuit, and I bought a wetsuit off him. And so the next week I was back in my wetsuit, and I think that next week I swam 2Ks. I swam 2Ks or 2.5 Ks.
That's cruising, man.
Yeah, so I've never had a problem swimming, but what I had to do is I had to swim right on the drop, so while the others were taking like a line deeper where they didn't see anything, I had to swim there on that drop line where I could see something, and because that calmed me down. And it took me 10 swims, to be able to swim off that drop and not feel like I'm getting claustrophobia. So But anyway, we got there, and
So that was what, 6-7 years ago? Longer.
that's 5 years ago, October 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I bought my first wetsuit from Eddie, and I think I killed that wetsuit within 9 months. I was one of those crazy swimmers, I just almost swam every day, hey, almost. Yeah. And so I bought my second wetsuit off him. I think I killed that probably within a year and a half. I had 2 wetsuits that were finished.
Yeah.
And then I bought my third wetsuit off him, and I had a friend called Lee Dalton. You might know him from ice swimming, another topic we'll get on later. So Lee, I was at that time I was swimming with Lee, and we got to the swim spot, and Lee said to me, I ditched my wetsuit, and I thought, oh no, he's ditched his wetsuit. He's swimming in skins, Now I have to do it too, because I will never hear the end if I don't, So, and up to that point, I've always thought about it, but it's people like Tristan and Liana, it's these, and from from Wanaka, like Rachel and Camille, all these little gods and goddesses that swims without wetsuits, especially in these cold water. So I thought, okay, I have to do it, So I ditched the wetsuit, and surprisingly, for me, it didn't feel like a big change. I think once your skin is cold, you feel like you're in a wetsuit, you feel like a different person once you chilled, you almost feel a bit more like superhuman like, you just feel solid.
It's just the initial getting into the water that's tough, right? After that, you definitely, I think, acclimatize to the water temperature, and obviously depending on how long you're in there, things change after that, right? But I'm assuming at this stage, you're used to the depth of the water. You've got no more claustrophobic feelings. Obviously, I'm assuming you feel even better without the wetsuit. Maybe a little bit slower, but more freedom.
Yeah, definitely slower. I think with the wetsuit, I was like a average swimmer. I could probably swim a kilometer, so 100 meters in a minute 50. Yep. 52, maybe a minute 50. Yep. But once I ditched the wetsuit, it went up to 2 minutes 10 plus, 20 yep. plus, Yep. But while I swam with a wetsuit for a year and a half, and while I was swimming with a wetsuit, I was chasing kilometers. It's like I was just doing. I know in January, I think it was in January 2021, I swam 171 kilometers in that 1 month. We had a competition to see who can swim the most, and almost it felt like I had to swim more and more just to get that buzz, that feeling of wellness, and because by the end of a swim, I will be so warm in the wetsuit, it feels like I was burning up, Yep. And since ditching the wetsuit, I don't chase kilometers anymore, and I also don't care about my time anymore, in terms of my time, so I'm happy to be slow, for me it's just to do the swim.
You swim in the pool and in the ocean? Like, do you still get into the pool during the week, or are you 100% ocean driven?
So in the summer, I swim 6-7 days in the ocean, so no pool for me. And we live here in Dunedin, with this harbour. It's a wonderful place. There's always a space where it's good to swim. I'll tell you a story now about my first swim here, but it's always good to swim. And during the winter, the harbour gets really cold. I think it's probably one of the coldest bodies of water in New Zealand. It's colder than the big lakes, So I wrote down, So in the summer, the temperature goes from about, say, 12 to 17 degrees, the harbour.
Water temp?
The water temp, yeah. And in the winter, it drops down to between 6 and 8. So in Queenstown, I was used to swimming in, say, 10 degrees water, and I could easily swim 2Ks, and, no matter what, I could swim 2Ks. But, in the ocean, I struggle to, there's probably a bit more fear as well in the ocean, because, you're not alone. Yep. And there's currents and things, so, and you have to be a bit more careful. So I keep it a bit shorter now in the winter. So in the winter, I swim here, say, 30 minutes. I don't measure the distance so much. It's more about the time that I spent in the water. And
And still no wetsuit through the winter, Francois?
no wetsuit through the winter. Just to dial back a bit. So my first winter that I was swimming with a wetsuit, this was in Queenstown. Lucas is the guy. He arranges the Wakatipu Legend with Richie. So they arranged the Wakatipu Legend. They were always on my case. We need to swim through winter. And so I said, okay, let's swim through winter. So we started swimming through winter with wetsuits, and so that was my first winter. And then the next winter in Queenstown, I ditched the wetsuit and kept on swimming without the wetsuit. And since I've ditched the wetsuit, I haven't been back to the wetsuit, because it's all about that dopamine rush. It's that. Yeah. Like if you wanted to murder someone, once you've been for a swim, you can delay that till tomorrow. So
you sound like you're speaking from experience, dude. Maybe that's another podcast.
Yeah. And my wife she sees I'm in a mood, and not that people can think I can be in a mood, because I'm such a lovely guy, but I can sometimes be a bit of an arsehole, and I can be difficult. I know I can. I'm a married man. I know I can be wrong. So then my wife would tell me, just go for a swim. It's amazing. Once I've been for a swim, I just feel so much better. Hey, it is really, there is definitely some wellness in it. In any case, to move on from there. So in the winter I swim. In winter I actually swim quite a bit. So over the weekends I swim twice a day. And that's more for preparation for the ice swimming, which we will still talk about. So I swim 4 times over the weekends, and then during the week I swim in the pool 4 or 5 times, just to keep the mileage up, just to stay fit. And so at the moment I'm swimming quite a bit, but with the ice swimming competition coming up in a week or so, from this point of time I won't be going in the pool anymore, just to make sure I stay away from hot water. I've not been in a warm shower now for 2 months. I really miss warm showers. I don't like showering in cold water. But after my first ice swimming experience, I just realized I need to do a bit more. I need to take it a bit more serious. I need to do some preparation.
That's a tough sport, yeah.
Yeah. So let me just take a sip of wine.
So while you're gulping down that red wine,
yeah.
So just for the listeners' benefit, right? So the cold swim that you mentioned that's coming up is New Zealand Ice Swimming Champs, and in New Zealand we flick between 1 year of lake competition and 1 year of pool competition. This year is pool coming up in Alexandra. What are the events that you've entered? And I think maybe while you tell me which events you've entered, I'd like you to explain to somebody like me who's a little bit slower, a little bit more about your physical disability and how that fits into what I imagine is called disabled swimming, or does it fit into the Paralympics, or how does it fit into the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, para swimming, eh?
Para swimming, yep.
Yeah. So just to dial back, I know you guys have talked about this before. Ice swimming started in 2009 when, what's his name?
Ram Barkai.
Yes, where he made it a sport, and it started off being the Ice Mile Challenge, but since then, the ambition is for it to become a Winter Olympic sport, and to be a proper, there's been a big emphasis on safety, growing the safety standards, and it's an extreme sport, but there's a lot of safety around it, So that's very good. But in any case,
Formula One, right? It looks a lot worse than what it actually is, right? There's a lot of safety precautions going on, and there's a good chance it will come out the other side, right? Skydiving.
Exactly.
Skydiving, yeah, there you go. It looks worse than what it is, right?
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
And again, just to fill the theme, right? Your day job, you're a bean counter, right?
Yes.
So that also breaks the norm a little bit about ice swimmers being, a little bit slower on the IQ side of things. Obviously you've done well with the books and the universities in the day. Why the hell I still don't understand how you got into ice swimming.
It's more, how did they allow me to be an accountant? I think that's more the question.
Okay, fair comment, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my dad always used to say mind over matter. He doesn't mind, I don't matter, So it's it's a matter of no. I mean, we're just joking now, but it is really there is. I mean, the whole cold water therapy thing is now so big, So there's really a it's the one drug you work for. It's the one fix you work for. Like every day before I go out swimming, I always I think that this is the last time I'm not going to swim again. I hate the feeling of getting in that cold water, but as soon as you're done, you just got this high. You're just feeling so
I
well.
have to say, Francois, I was watching you at St. Bathans, and that wasn't the impression that I got. Everyone had done their swims, and then you sort of stuck your hand up to do another swim right at the end. So you did your little 250, and you got to the end, and everyone says, "Here, Francois, let me give you a hand." And you said, "No, guys, I'd just like to chill out here in this 3-degree lake for another couple of minutes because I'm not cold enough yet." So yeah, there's a bit about you that really loves that cold water, eh?
Yes, but it's that drug that I love. It's that feeling afterwards. It's really that sense of wellness. And but I do think I think some people are probably a bit more. It's a bit easier, like myself and Duncan. We're probably a bit more on the chunkier side. Duncan,
Wait,
I don't know.
speak for yourself, dude.
he,
I've got
he wants to be as chunky as you.
Jonker. Hey, how much do you weigh?
probably about 85-ish, 85.
Okay, I'm like 92, so
Yeah, but I think you're taller than me. Let's say that you're taller than me.
look, the only thing we really want to measure at the end of an ice mile is something we can't speak about here now, right? So
Yes, and there's nothing for me there's nothing to measure in my case. So
there's nothing
it's
chunky
zero.
there either. Okay, moving on. So
Before
talk to me about how your disability affects you in
Yes,
the cold water, or maybe just in general, and then
yes. So
what the aspirations are, I guess, at this year's Ice Champs.
yeah, so I'll just dial it back a bit. So what I've got is called Charcot Marie Tooth disease, type 1A. It's a hereditary disease. It's passed on with it's a genetic thing. So my mother had
From
it.
your mum or from your dad?
It was from my mum. My mum had it. My grandmother had it. So it's passed on. It's probably let's leave it there. But in any case, so when I was young, when I grew up, I always just thought I had a problem with my feet. I didn't know there was something wrong with me. But I remember when I started primary school or pre-primary school. When we did our first race, I was standing there on the line, thoughting, I'm going to be competitive. I'm going to race, and as we started off, I came last, and not just last. I was very last.
This is a running race, yeah.
A running race, yeah. And that day I realized, I'm different.
You're not going to make the Springboks, so.
Yeah, not even. So that's I make up for my disability by attitude. I sound dangerous and I talk dangerous, but really,
I reckon he's a shoe for the Wallabies.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So, in any case, how this affects a person is it's to do with your electrical system you've got in your body, your peripheral nerves, the nerves that runs to your arms and your hands and your legs and your feet, and so the electrical wires don't work so well. So when I grew as a child, my feet, for example, didn't grow properly. My hands and my forearms didn't grow properly. So I had to have 2 operations as a kid, where the one they had to lengthen my Achilles because I was walking on my toes, and the second operation had to break the bridge of my foot to make my foot flatter because I had a very high arch. And after both operations, it took me about 3 to 6 months to learn to walk again. So it was quite I want to say the word vicious, but it was quite a involved operations. It was quite tough. Yeah.
How old were you at that stage?
I was 11 and 13. So it's when you go through puberty, when you go through the growth phase, that so. And then what happened was, so after we moved to Australia, I knew that there was a chance for my son to. Through the family, I learned that there's actually something wrong with us. It's called Charcot Marie Tooth disease. I didn't know so much about it, but then when we were in Australia, I had my son tested, and he had. So it sent him off for a DNA test, and up to that point, I was never formally diagnosed. I knew I had it, but I wasn't diagnosed. So I sent him off for the test, and he was diagnosed. And then I learned a lot about the disease, and it's actually seen as it's a disability, and so that was interesting. And so when I started ice swimming, I met some other para swimmers, at the ice swimming event. There was a lady named with the name Meg Agnew. I don't know if you remember her from the first year.
Yep.
She's from Christchurch. She had a classification, and she told me she had to go through this whole process to get classified. And I thought, imagine I could get classified, then I can, compete in a different category, So I started the process. It took some time because you firstly have to see a specialist and get blood tests done. It probably took a year to get all of that done, to get a physical piece of paper saying I've got CMT. And then I had to make an appointment with the Olympic classifiers, the Paralympic classifiers. These are, and for a nobody like me, I'm not like a young, person that's going to go to the Olympics, so it was a bit weird for them too, I think, this older person coming and, trying to get a classification.
You can go to the Olympics, so you don't have to be a 100-meter sprinter. You can go as an archer, or there's various levels where the guys are a bit older, sailors. So maybe it didn't seem as weird as what you thought it was, right?
Yeah, but for the swimmer, I think every sport is quite separate. So okay. and to get classified, it is a science thing. So for me, how they do tests on you. So it's not the fact that I've got CMT, I'll get classified. It's all about how it affects you. So the two criteria that I came in on is impaired muscle power. So although I look strong and dangerous, I'm actually not, I'm one of those guys that sometimes I have to tell my wife, "Lovey, can you open this jar for me?" Yes, yeah. So she still loves me, so that's good. And then the other thing is passive range of movement. It's just the way that I grew. So for example, my feet and hands can't turn like other people's. Like I look normal, but I'm not really. But in any case, so and then what I saw with the ice swimming was, so I got my classifications, and then I went onto my profile and ticked, okay, I'm now a para swimmer, and then I saw suddenly now I've got the fastest kilometer time in the world, and 500-meter time in the world.
Nice, dude.
For ice swimming, yeah. So obviously I didn't make those times when I had the official classification, but I've always been the way I am.
You know where you're on the list, for example, right? You know where you rank.
Yes.
Nice.
So in any case, so it's so that was quite nice, So it makes swimming a bit more interesting now as well, The fact
man. That's pretty cool. Although it's not great for me, because for the listeners out there, Francois and I are kind of at the same sort of speed. But he's got a reason and I don't.
But Jim Duncan was.
But I'm just a bit sort of down in the lips here.
but Jim Duncan says it's because you're old. He always says that.
He always says it's because I'm old.
But it was Jim's birthday yesterday, dude. So he's even older than normal at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Hey, Francois. So
yes.
So that means that you would have the opportunity to get a slot to go to World Champs?
Yes, I should be. Yeah, I should be. The thing is, I think ice swimming is really growing, and I think more people are realizing, there's some glory to be gained, and And you know, as long as people, not too many people jump on it too quickly, you know, there's a potential for me to get a medal. You know,
Nice, man.
yeah.
And you would
So,
represent, just to be clear, you're going to represent Australia, South Africa, or New Zealand when you go.
well, I'm not a South African citizen anymore, so obviously I will represent New Zealand. You know, it's the
Nice.
country where I live
Yeah.
now. So,
Well, because
so yeah.
otherwise we weren't going to publish this podcast. So that's the right answer. Hey,
I
so
might change.
after you,
I
yeah?
might change my mind. I say I might change my mind after this conversation, but you know, I can't say it. I can't say it on live. You know, so otherwise.
Hey, dude. So through this entire process, you are now working as a volunteer for Coast Guard.
I need to get it right. In I think 2017. Yeah, I joined Coast Guard as a volunteer. So it's been a few years now, and it's a great organization to be part of. And I think what makes it great. So I went in not because I wanted to go into boating or learn about boating. I just wanted to be a volunteer. And at that point of time, I was volunteering for the ambulance service, and you know, a few things happened there, and so I just decided to put my free time towards Coast Guard. And it was a very good decision. And what makes Coast Guard so great is the fact that it is a bunch of volunteers. The only paid people are, you know, I would say the office people, that runs the organization, but all the people actually on boats, all the actual people doing the work, you know, the operational people, they're all volunteers, and they're all there for the same reason. You know, they're there to save people's lives on the water. You know, so, and they're there to make a difference, and they're there because they want to be volunteers. You know, and the beauty is you don't have to know anything about about boating, you know, to join. You know,
That's a different podcast, dude. Yeah.
yes, yeah. But in any case, so I just want to. I made a bit of a list just to tell you what courses I've done through Coast Guard.
Yes,
So
please, go for
it's the one great thing, you know, about Coast Guard is that you get to do all these courses, you know, part of your training. So Coast Guard has got a training, and you've got different levels that you work yourself up on. And when I joined, I'm not saying this is exactly the pathway anymore, but when I joined, you know, this is the courses I did. Most of them are done through boating education. Like ordinary people can also do it, or civilians, you know,
Yep.
non-Coast Guard people.
Yes.
And just by the way, Coast Guard is a search and rescue operation. It's not like the Americans. It's not a military organization.
Gotcha.
In other countries, they would call it marine SAR, marine search and rescue. You know, so it's a search and rescue. It's got no policing. It's all about saving lives on the water. You know.
So does Coast Guard like need to report into Harbour Master, or you know, what's the, you know, who ensures that the Coast Guard is keeping their shit together?
Yes, that's a difficult question. So the harbour master is usually appointed by the local council, you know, and they've got regulatory power. You know, they can come into your house and they can take stuff off you. They can fine you. You know, they've got that. That's not the Coast Guard's function. The Coast Guard will never fine you. The Coast Guard won't get you into trouble. The Coast Guard is there to save your life, you know. So people should never feel, I'm not going to call the Coast Guard because I'm going to get into trouble, because that's not how it works. And we do have rules about, for example, the harbour master not operating off Coast Guard vessels, you know, to make sure that, you know, there's not this conflict, you know, that people are not afraid to call Coast Guard, you know, because if you need help, you need help, you know. And then who keeps Coast Guard in line? I don't know. It's got a whole organization with a CEO and reporting, and it's got a board and so I presume.
Yeah, I think it's just a self-managed organization. It works in a very similar way to surf lifesaving.
Gotcha.
Yes.
You know, they just self-manage. Yeah.
In any case, so get back to the courses that I've done. So. I'm not going to mention. So in Coast Guard has got its own set of curriculums. These are just external courses that I did, like I said, either with boating education or with, and also with LANSA. LANSA also does some of the courses, you know. So like I did a VHF radio operator course. So you're not supposed to use a VHF radio except for an emergency, unless you've got a qualification, a certificate. it's actually illegal to use a VHF radio. So you have to have a VHF radio operating certificate. So I did that. I did a day skipper course, a first aid course, a GPS operator course, a radar operator course, an inboard engine maintenance course, an outboard engine maintenance course. I did a boatmaster course. I did a health and safety Rep 1 course, a marine search and rescue technical course, managed the marine response course, a search and rescue leadership course, training for delivery course. So I'm a Coast Guard instructor as well, so I did a training for delivery and training for assessment course. I did a Sims 4 course that a lot of people have done as well. And then, as mentioned, there is this other Coast Guard assessments that you go through. So you start off as a deckhand, or you start off as a volunteer or as a noob, and then you become a deckhand, operational crew, senior operational, and you become a skipper, or as it's called, a master. And then there's the option to be an instructor as well. And then there's different levels of instructors that you can be. So, and for all those courses, Coast Guard, that's one thing that Coast Guard is very good at. They're very good at giving you training and also equipping you. So everyone's got the best gear, waterproof gear to keep you warm, especially, in the colder regions. The boats are all filled up, and all of this takes money. And 40% of Coast Guard's funding comes from central government, and the rest, the 60%, Coast Guard has to basically fundraise themselves. And they've got different initiatives. Usually the big one is they do an annual lottery. You guys might have seen, that they do this lottery, sell tickets. It's quite big. There's Coast Guard membership. So Coast Guard also acts almost as an AA service, where if your vessel breaks down, they'll come and help you, give you a tow. So you can have a Coast Guard membership. So it's cheaper to be a member than paying for the service, so I would advise all boaties, just get that membership. If you ever need someone, if your battery dies or you run out of fuel, the Coast Guard will come and visit you. And then obvious sponsorships, and there's some grants, and then donations that the Coast Guard also gets. So, as I said, 40% of the funding otherwise comes from the government. There's 63 units countrywide, 106 rescue vessels, and over 2,000 volunteers like me. Yeah. So, and oh yes, I know you guys are tied with surf life saving. Yeah. But Coast Guard is New Zealand's primary water safety, rescue, and education organisation. I just wanted to rub that in. So,
it's just
according to the Coast Guard.
But yeah. Have you been out on rescues?
Yes. So it does happen. So what happens is you've got a pager, and then and it's moved to an app now. So there is.
You might want to explain what a pager is for anybody that's younger than like 30 years old, right?
Yeah, it's the thing that doctors used to doctors used to wear a little pager where
sales reps, doctors.
Yeah,
so if someone check the stock market results on pages.
Yeah, so if someone wanted to find the doctor, someone will call the pager service, and then the pager service will page, but they will also send a phone number for the person to call, and then you call the phone number.
It's almost like just a text message sort of scenario, right? But if you want to put it in its simplest forms, okay. So you've been out on a couple of rescues?
Yes, so I would say probably more than 95 of your effort is training. As that's what you always do, training. Make sure you're ready. There's always new people starting. It's all about being safe and coaching.
You need to know how to swim to be a volunteer?
No, the idea is to stay in the boat. Okay. So they don't encourage people to get off the boat. But
so that's the difference between Coast Guard and surf life saving, right?
Yes, but obviously in Queenstown, I was always a volunteer to be the dummy, So I, and also every few years we had to do a water survivability test where you had to jump in the water and pop your PFD, your life saving, your life jacket, and you had to swim around a bit and basically climb back on the boat. So that was part of the training, and that was normally my job, to take the people in the water. And towards the end, I was really encouraging people just to jump in with their gear, because up until that point, people used to put a wetsuit under. I said, no, we have to keep it real. So jump in, exactly how you'll be the day, just with your gear. And so that's great. But in terms of the jobs that we normally saw, luckily my time with Coast Guard, I never came across any deceased people. But at the ambulance service we did, but not with Coast Guard. But it does happen, just not to me. Most of our calls were at night. Someone would see something and we would go out and there would be nothing, So, and we will have to do a search pattern. So we'll do some search patterns and just verify that there's nothing. But the things that we did do is it's a lot of towing, boats breaking down. So tow them back, flat batteries. We had like a battery pack we will take out, or boats running out of fuel. So take them some fuel.
So those would be mostly women skippers on those boats that run out of fuel, yeah?
You would think so, but I think women tends to plan more. It's the other ones.
Oh, geez, we've lost half of our listeners now, Duncan.
How many hours a week do you volunteer?
Sorry, how many hours do you volunteer?
Yeah.
So training is once a week. And I think Coast Guard is all about you give what you can give. It's not like you have to. It's everyone give what they can give, So normally training is once a week, so it's great, especially in the beginning. If you can give as much as you can, and then obviously if you want to do some of these other courses, or those courses sometimes, for example, the leadership one, it was a 3-day training course. So you go, they actually fly you to Christchurch or to Auckland. So with Coast Guard, I've been flown around quite a bit, to do training. So when it comes to training, they don't skimp. They want their people to be trained and to know what they're doing. So anyway, so some of the other things that we did, swamped boats. It's amazing how many people end up with boats swamped, and then also sunken. We came across some sunken boats, which had to be raised. We got some police divers or commercial divers that came and raised the boats with bags and pump out the water and tow it back. So it's more that kind of thing. Yeah. In any case,
what's the going back to the money? What's the fundraiser this year? Is that the big swim thing that I've seen pop across my screen a couple of times?
Yes, it's awesome that it's pop across your screen, and thanks for paying attention. It's really appreciated. So the big swim. So it's the first time Coast Guard is doing this. So I can think it's going to become an annual thing. You would think the surf life saving would have thought about this first, because they're swimmers, but they didn't. It was Coast Guard. So just show you, Coast Guard is better than surf life saving. Hey, Jim.
Yeah. Well, just promoting how surf life saving is the best operation in the country.
I'm just teasing.
But it is a great initiative. I do agree with you.
Yes. So
tell us about it.
So the plan is for people to swim in for the month of July. So for the month of July, and remember, this is not necessarily people that swim like me every single day. Mostly this could be just normally people that just that signed up to punish themselves, and they're going to punish themselves by committing. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So so far we've got 1,000 participants, and that have pledged to swim already 15,000 kilometers, and apparently that's the circumference of New Zealand's coastline. So
wow, already.
Already, yeah.
Okay.
And to date, remember it hasn't started yet. It only starts in July, which is Monday, I think. We've raised over $112,000 already, and it's going up as we speak. So
how's that money raised? Is that through? Is there an entry fee, or is there donations happening, or like how does the funds happen?
So how it happens is you go to www.bigswim.org.nz, and then there is a button that says join, and then you join the Big Swim.
Swap left, swap right.
Yes, but this is only swapping up and down, eh?
Okay, good.
So So you join then, and you create like a profile. You can put a picture on, and you get your own little like a little mini web page in the page, almost like Facebook. And then basically there you basically pledge how many kilometers you will be doing. So I've said I'll do 50 in the month, knowing that in the first 14 days I won't be able to swim in the pool because I'm going to stay out of the pool until the ice swimming is done.
Yeah.
So it means for the last 18 days I'll have to swim 2.2 kilometers a day, which I know I can do, so that's why I said 50.
Give you numbers like that.
Yeah. So I said I'll do 50, but I also said that if I fundraise $5,000, I'll swim 75 Ks for the month, and if I fundraise 10K, I'll swim 100 kilometers. And if someone is so crazy to, bump me up to 20K, I'll do 150 Ks. And that's really gonna, I'm not allowed to say that.
The last 2 weeks are going to be a ton of swimming, yeah?
It's going to be like 7, almost 8 Ks a day, which for me is on the high side. It's unhealthy. So if someone wants to do that to me, you just go to my bigswim.org.nz /F- my last name, which pocket of the podcast, and then you can punish me.
We'll put the link in the show notes. So Francois,
awesome.
By the time this podcast goes out, we'll be into July already. Can people still join,
yes,
after the 1st of July?
People can join at any point, So they can join at any point. It's all about fundraising, participation. So,
and obviously it all goes towards an awesome cause to look after Kiwi citizens.
So I think that the Salty Dogs needs to enter, and we'll just track Duncan swimming.
No. You can actually you can. There's two ways of entering. You can enter as an individual, or as a dance troupe. So you get your dance group to join. Duncan, your swim group. Yeah. I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking. I meant your swim group.
That group. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we should join and see how far we can go.
Yeah.
And I think that will be a great initiative, right? And if it's going to become an annual thing, Francois, then you need to talk to us annually, and we'll see how Cleverdex can do our best to support and get the Coast Guard's good work known out to the community, because I don't think everybody knows exactly what you guys do, right? So hats off.
Exactly.
Thank you for all the hard work.
The second best water rescue organisation in the country. Yeah.
Just behind
and it's and the best swimming podcast in the country.
Okay, listen, dude. Tell me, what events are you going to be swimming at us at Champs in 10 days' time or 12 days' time?
Yeah, I remember that the first time I swam, I only entered the K and the 500 meters, but this time I thought I'll just go do every freestyle event, because I'm not really a swimmer, so I can't do those fancy strokes. So I'm going to do the 50, 100, 250, 500, and the K.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
And that's going to take you through pretty much every day of swimming, right? You'll have one event every day at least.
I think there's one day possibly that I probably won't swim, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see when it starts how the schedule is. I think the schedule is still being developed. It's
I thought I'd go for giggles. I'm going to do an individual medley just so that everyone can have a bit of a laugh.
When was the last time we did butterfly?
I did some this week because I write the program.
Jim,
so I force people to do it.
But Jim, you're supposed to do the strokes properly, eh? Otherwise you get disqualified, eh? You know that, eh?
Well, that's okay. I don't mind being disqualified.
Have we got any insider trader information as to what the water temperature is down in Alex at the moment?
I think there was a post that said it was 3 degrees the other day, eh?
Already?
on our WhatsApp channel,
Yeah.
But sorry, I don't know if you guys know, but on the I think it's the 6th of July, or the 7th of July, the Saturday, the Winter Legend is happening in Queenstown. The Winter Legend.
Yep.
Do you guys know about? You guys know about it?
No?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a 500 and a K. So I've got the Dunedin posse is going to. And it's a bit more of a low-key event, because
Yeah.
obviously it's an extreme sport,
Yeah.
swimming in what will be under 10 degrees water. And so my plan is to drive up, and then on my way back, I've made arrangements to go and check out the Alex pool. So I will take the temperature and possibly
Nice.
go for a dip, and just see how it is like. Just
Nice.
remind myself how unhealthy it is, So
Yeah, we've actually got a little road trip tomorrow to Lake Taupo. Obviously, the lake is pretty nippy, colder than the ocean up here in Auckland. But we apparently some of the river mouths that feed the lake get down to I think a couple of weeks ago was about 6-7 degrees. So hopefully we'll find at least 6 degrees and try and acclimatize ourselves a little bit.
Yes.
I'm like you, Francois. Don't give me cold showers and ice baths and all of that nonsense. For me, it's just torture. But Jim's been jumping into an ice bath every day.
So you do. It's even worse. He jumps into his pool and ties a rope around his waist and splashes around, swimming nowhere. I think I'd much rather get into a bloody freezer than that. That sounds like torture to me.
Yeah. So Jim, when you get into your plunge, do you put your head in the plunge?
It's too small for me to naturally sit in there, but quite often I will just splash cold water over my head before I get out.
Why don't you just do a handstand next time?
Well,
keep your legs out the top and chuck your whole body in there and put like a hose pipe and breathe through a hose pipe or something.
We'll go upstairs and you can show me exactly how that's going to work.
Okay.
Because I think there's a few pieces of advice, from my my limited experience is make sure you get your head used to the cold water, So, and I would say the best thing is if you do go to Taupo, swim without a cap some days, with a swim cap, because that will really acclimatize the head, And then the other thing is remember to keep your mouth shut, because those lips they go numb.
Duncan's going to struggle.
Yeah.
My mother always used to tell me the same thing. Funny that. She knew nothing about ice swimming. Dudes, what do you think about when you're in the ice? I mean, is it just like another day in the water, or do you need to sort of change gears and put yourself into a different mental space for a swim like a 1 kilometer in 3 degree water?
I remember when I was doing the ice mile last year, I was thinking, this is the last time, I'm not going to do this again.
Didn't we all?
I think, this is not healthy, and I got through it, and all you think is just keep on going. But I think one thing that's wonderful about this sport, and especially with the people that we do swim with, is that's because safety is such a priority. Especially when we swim in the lake, when we swim at St. Bathans in Blue Lake, every individual has got a boat with super qualified people in the boat. We've got a surf life-saving. Unfortunately, not a Coast Guard person, but it's a surf life-saving person.
Hey, we will welcome the assistance of the Coast Guard. If you guys can send some volunteers out next year, please. The more the merrier. Safety, as you said, is a priority.
Yeah, but I am joking. When it comes to this kinds of scenario, obviously, surf life-saving, this is their bread and butter, because it's just what they're used to, pulling people out of the water, into the ribs, So
to be fair, Francois, yes, the guys we've got on the boats, including Jim as an example, have got a surf life-saving background and connection. But a lot of the work that we've done to get the guys comfortable and experienced is completely different to a lot of the training done at Surf Lifesaving. How do you learn in a book how to look after somebody swimming in 3 degree water? Right? It's been done through the help of ROM and International Ice Swimming, and the guys compare notes from all over the world. It's been a lot of hard work. It's been I guess a bit of trial and error, to be
Yeah.
fair, right, over the years.
Yeah.
But I think we've definitely got it to the space where, as you've just mentioned now, most of the swimmers, if not all, I'd like to say all, had a very high level of confidence that if something did happen to go wrong, or if they did want to get lifted out the water, whatever the case might be, they were surrounded by competent experts that would be able to assist. Right? And that's what you're looking for. Because we are pushing ourselves, yes, we're not running a marathon in 2 hours and 2 minutes or whatever. It's not that level of pushing ourselves, but for what we are and the ages we are swimming in those temperatures, I mean, it hasn't been done a lot before. So it is an extreme sport, and I think your point is, it's absolutely key that when you're doing this, that you take all the safety precautions in hand.
Yeah. And
Otherwise,
I agree.
Don't go out alone.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I feel a lot safer and a lot more calm when I swim in these events than I do on my own, because I know I can swim to the point, where I go unconscious and someone will pull me out,
Exactly.
Not that it's going to happen, because they'll stop you before then. But I mean, we've all seen some very inspirational. I mean, I remember when Waping did a kilometer last year. Remember that, and everyone was cheering her. I mean, I was so close to tears that day, hey, just to see her complete
You're quite
that.
an
And
emotional dude. I've seen you with tears in your eyes a lot.
exactly. Hey, one funny story though. Can I tell a story? You guys might have heard this before, or I might have told this before. Or any case, so my son, he goes on the Spirit of New Zealand sometimes. He's been on it a couple of times.
Awesome.
And he did a trip from Dunedin to Nelson. And so we decided, okay, we're going to do a road trip to Nelson. And so we decided we're going to stay 2 nights at Kaikoura. So we drove from Dunedin to Kaikoura and then spent 2 nights there. But, we drove from Kaikoura, picked him up in Nelson and drove back to Kaikoura. So while I was in Kaikoura, obviously I was too chicken to swim in the sea on my own. So I thought I'll have to go for a swim in the pool there. And they've got this new flush pool. So I went there, and in the middle of the day, it was quite busy. It looked like school groups, and there's this older Maori lady sitting at reception, and I went in and she said, "Go card?" I didn't know what she meant, and then when I clicked, I thought, what the hell, Go card,
You said, no, visa, dude, visa.
And I went back the next day, and then afterwards I checked my bank details, and that she actually only charged me the go-kart rate. So.
Nice, dude. And there's some benefits, right? Very cool.
There's benefits of being 65, hey? So if I look 65, it's okay,
Hey, you know what? For all of us South Africans that have immigrated to New Zealand late, we're all going to be working until we're 95 anyway. So that gold card will come in handy, right?
But it's not a bad country to work later, so we can do anything.
Our family believe keeping busy will keep us alive, right? So
just out of trouble, especially you, Duncan.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, dude. Francois, we will give the Big Swim a nudge on our social media and on this podcast.
Awesome.
If any of our listeners have got any questions, I think they could probably jump onto the Coast Guard social media, or alternatively send us
on the
a
Big
message.
Swim website.
Big Swim website, correct. We will interrupt for Salty Dogs or Clever Dicks, one of the two, and we'll participate and do our fair share. And mate, I hope you have some good training in the next sort of 10 days prior to us swimming chaps. And I look forward to catching up with you down there, and I look forward to you kicking some ass and setting some records.
Awesome, awesome. I think while we're at this ice swimming event, we all get so high on dopamine. I know, but by the end, that's why we all get so emotional, because we're all on this dopamine train, and we feel so in love with each other and caring, and it's just an amazing environment. And I would encourage everyone to come and, if it's if it's your thing or not your thing, come and join, and experience this dopamine train, So it's awesome.
Amazing people.
It is very good. Francois, it's been wonderful
Yeah.
talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks very much, and it's my honor. Eh? You guys are legends. I'm a nobody, so it's my honor to be on your show.
Well, you're a legend now because you're going to be our most popular podcast ever, I think.
I reckon, dude. I reckon.
Well, thanks for listening. If you listen to this in July, you've still got the opportunity to go and sponsor any of the swimmers in the big swim. And we've also put links to Francois' disability and the big swim in the show notes. It was great talking to Francois. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.